Parental alienation cases are some of the most emotionally complex and legally challenging matters I handle. When one parent manipulates a child to reject the other, the damage can be deep, long-lasting, and in many cases tragically permanent. In these high-conflict custody battles, many judges and legal professionals turn to reunification programs as the silver bullet. The assumption is clear. If we can just get the child and the rejected parent into the same room, preferably with a therapist or court monitor, we can fix it. We can undo the alienation. We can rebuild the relationship. But does it really work? Hi, I'm Jim Kraayeveld. I'm a child custody attorney in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I've handled countless parental alienation cases, many of them leading to extensive and long trials. And I've seen judges order reunification, and I often don't see it really work. So I thought I'd research the issue and share my findings with you. There's a 2024 PhD dissertation done by Madeline Kopp, and the title of her dissertation is The Long-Term Effects of Reunification Programs on Children of Divorce in Adulthood, an exploratory study. And the thesis challenges the assumption that reunification is a fix-all. And I think we really need to take her findings seriously, both in and out of the courtroom. She studied 43 adults who had gone through high-conflict custody cases as kids. 15 of them had been placed in court-ordered reunification programs. And so her study asked, did these programs help improve long-term parent-child relationships? Did they improve adult mental health? And did they reduce the effects of alienation? The interesting thing is that her key findings were there were worse relationships after reunification, not better. The adults who went through the reunification programs reported poorer relationships with the rejected parent later in life. There weren't any mental health benefits from it. There wasn't any difference in the anxiety or depression or stress compared to those who didn't attend a reunification program. And actually, almost half of the participants showed moderate to severe symptoms. So, early rejection predicts future estrangement. The children who strongly refused contact were less likely to reconnect later, whether there was a program or not. So, what does this mean for attorneys? What does this mean for parents who are dealing with this subject? Reunification isn't a cure-all. Courts may mean well, but forcing a program is not the necessarily fix-all. They often fail. We often use expert testimony to introduce our wish list or proposed solutions. We need to be using experts to introduce research like this in court. As a practical matter, I think parents need to act early. You need to get clear enforceable court orders if there's going to be a concern that parental alienation is occurring. You need to document violations of parenting time orders immediately. You may have to also request psychological evaluations if you think that this is an ongoing issue that may escalate into a real resist and refuse situation. You need to work with experienced attorneys. You can't just take your general family law attorney and hope that they know about it. It's only the attorneys that have experience with parental alienation or resist and refuse dynamics that are going to understand all of the elements. As a parent, you're playing a long game. You want a long-term relationship. So however you react to whatever you may perceive going on, whether it's true or not, be consistent, remain calm. You have to avoid retaliation, because if it becomes a fight between the two parents, it's going to usually not be perceived as healthy or appropriate by the kids, and that doesn't help your case. You may want to stay in therapy to manage your own emotional toll. In the end, if your child does reconnect with you years later as an adult, Your past behavior will matter and it will be remembered. So, I want to propose some alternatives that might be better than reunification therapy. You may want to request counseling for the alienating parent so that they realize what they're doing, if they don't realize what they're doing. You're going to need court orders that are going to focus on correcting the alienating behavior, and as soon as possible, so that it doesn't become a long-term situation. You may need to use narrative therapy so that the parents can discuss things so that they can understand each other. That helps both sides share their story without pressure. And again, you may need to start with small steps, letters, phone calls, supervised visits, and not just jumping straight to immediate full contact if there has been damage done and the children are alienated from their parent. You may want to seek financial sanctions. I have seen that help, that the parent who is offending the court orders and harming the relationship between the kids and the non-preferred parent, financial sanctions will sometimes wake them up so that they realize that their conduct isn't healthy. Every missed visit or court order violation, you need to address it. And yes, you need a good attorney who can help you get all of this ready, and you may need to prepare for trial if necessary. Because if the alienation continues, you're going to need to be ready financially and emotionally, potentially to pursue a change of custody motion. And reunification might not be the answer. So, in sum, there are many, many ways to deal with this and a lot of options to consider. The healing process is psychological and not just legal. You can't just order something and make kids feel safe. They need to feel safe. They need time. They need autonomy, not a court order with pressure. So, my final thoughts on this subject: parental alienation is real. It's destructive. But court orders alone can't fix it. And this study reminds us that reunification therapy doesn't always equal resolution or fixing the problem. So you may need to ask ourselves the right questions. What does this child need to feel safe? What's the best long-term path towards healing? And if you're an alienated parent or an attorney handling this kind of a case, take this study seriously and use it to guide your next steps. If you need help with an experienced law firm that deals with parental alienation cases for over the last 2 decades, our office is always ready to support you. Until next time.